I did get some shit for this from people in the comments. Oh, he posted the bond. You guys were wrong. Blah blah blah. Okay, he got a guy to back him. Our thing was we didn't think he'd had the money to get the bond. Doesn't mean that he did. This guy's backing him probably basically subprime backing. So this guy doesn't. I don't know what he thinks whether or not he's going to get it. But did he post the bond? No, he hasn't posted the bond yet. When he does, we will sit here and go, we were wrong. He was able to post the bond. But only until he posts the bond. And the bond is due today, April 4th. And he still hasn't posted it. They tried to post it yesterday.
Well, East Coast time, we got 12 minutes till 5 o'clock. Just,
Well, the time we're filming this. Yeah. So the funny thing is he has, I'm sure they give him a couple more days because of this incident. So they went to post it yesterday, but the clerk rejected it. So here it is. Just said this article. Rejected and returned for correction. Docs for Trump's $175 million bond get bounced. It's a good title. All right.
Okay, so I just want to throw out there, he does a lot of dealings with people that really cannot manage paperwork. I'm just saying.
Oh, ma'am.
I mean, not that this particular guy's specialty is like giving people bonds or whatever. It's not. But I'm also pairing it with his inability to hire lawyers that can file paperwork. I mean, what's up with this guy? His vetting process.
I would blame the lawyers on this one. So the guy's going up to give the bond. You think the lawyers would be on top of it to go, oh, hey, do you have all this information? This is what you're going to need. His lawyers, for what he's paid $100 million in legal fees, just in the last couple of years. Yeah, you'd think these people would be on the ball, man. He paid Alina Habba like $3 million, and she fucked everything up. She's the reason he owes all this. If she'd have done a better job in that case, it might have been a lot less. But anyway, so we'll get into this article real quick. So they did a review of the New York County Supreme Court docket. Okay. The paperwork for former President Donald Trump's newly secured bond of $175 million was temporarily rejected and returned for correction. The cause for the rejection, according to the New York's County Supreme Court website, is because the requisite paperwork lacked current financial statements. This was first noted by the news.
So let's just stop and say, what does that mean? So if I have to pony up my financial statements in order to do this, this means I have to be willing to reveal what I have going on financially,
right,
in an amount of detail, and we'll see how this person feels about doing that. I'm not trying to suggest they're doing anything wrong or whatever, because I have no reason to know. But I don't love having to have my statements come through by people, and I'm not up to anything. It's just a lot of personal information, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, yeah. So the way this typically works, boys and girls, is it's simple. I mean, it's the way you would do it too if you were the court. So, you go to post the bond. The bond only puts a stay on them seizing his assets, which is kind of what he needs to do, right? Now, he could have put it up in cash if he had it. I don't think he has it. He probably could have gotten a bond or several bonds from different people if he had assets, or he could have got a mortgage loan or something like that and put it in cash and got a bond on that. But he didn't do that either. He got this guy out of nowhere, this subprime lender guy, right, to front the money, the $175 million, and I'm sure the guy is raking him for it. And we don't even know what he put up as collateral. This guy won't say. So this guy goes to the court, but he doesn't come up with the cash either. What he does is he does it as an insurance company giving a bond and says, okay, I'm going to give you a promissory note that if he loses the appeal or the appeal gets rejected, that I'll just pay this cash. So he's on the hook now for the money. Well, the court's like, great. We need to see your financials so we know that you can pay it. This is literally the scene in My Cousin Vinny where his girlfriend beats the guy at pool and the guy stiffs her, and he goes up to confront the guy, and The guy wants to fight him for it. He's like, all right, fine, I'll fight you for it. Show me the money first. The guy's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, show me the money. The guy doesn't have it. He's like, all right, get the money, then we'll fight. And then he runs into him later. The guy's like, I got your money. And he's holding up a big roll of bills. And he's like, how do I know that's not just a 20 wrapped around a bunch of ones? It's all there. Yeah, okay, fan it out. Show it to me. And the guy won't do it. He's like, yeah, okay. It's like, so that's what this is. This is literally Trump and this guy are doing this to the court. And the court's going, no, fan it out. Show me the money. Show me where you're going to get this money from to pay it. So I'm sure the guy's got it. I mean, he's a billionaire. He's a subprime lender. I'm sure he's got the money. But the question is does he want to release that information to the court because it's going to be public? And does he have the money to back the insurance? I mean, that's the question.
Making all that information public, I mean, that's a lot.
We'll see
that's
what
a
happens.
lot.
So, hey, if they post it, I'm sure they'll try again. And if it gets posted and the court accepts it and this guy puts the right backing, then we'll sit there and go, okay, we were wrong. He was able to get a bond in the sketchiest fucking way possible, but he did it. But until that magical day, the check's in the mail, guys.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. It just cracks me up. You can't even get the fucking... Everything's a screw up with this guy. So, the other big thing going on with Donald Trump was he's got his criminal case, which starts in 11 days, April 15th, for criminal fraud. Now, this is... Everybody's calling it the hush money case. This is actually for election interference. This is for the first time he did it back in 2020, or in 2016, sorry. The first election interference, because what happened was he paid off Stormy Daniels, right, to kill that story, which you can pay off somebody to be quiet, but the way he did it was very illegal and very, very hush-hush kind of thing. And he paid off, what was it, Karen McDougal, who was the Playmate, the Playboy mate that he had a brief affair with, because just to kill those stories and keep them out. Now, think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen. The big story that killed Hillary Clinton in the end was the whole email thing with the FBI director at the time. I forget his name. Is the real tall guy. And he released that thing, and that kind of shot her in the foot, right? As an October surprise. Well, while that was going on, Trump was able to bribe these women and cover up, and bribe the National Enquirer and some other stuff to cover up the stories. So by doing that, he influenced the election unlawfully. And that's what this case is really about in New York. But he's committing fraud by doing that, because the way he did it was fraudulent as well. So kind of a big case. He's looking at, I said, got like 30-something felony counts. The last I heard, it was something like anywhere between 10 plus years in prison would be the maximum he could get. So this is, I mean... Man,
that's just like a recipe for him, like, dying in a cell, man.
Well, yeah, and then he tried to push to delay it, and the judge basically told him to fuck off. And then he posted some shit about the judge's daughter. She's a Democrat, and she's, I think she's done things for... Kamala Harris' campaign before. She doesn't know them, but she's done like campaign for them before, kind of thing. And so Trump posted a bunch of shit about that, like it's connected to the judge in some way. Just because his daughter's a Democrat doesn't mean anything, right? But by doing that, he also doxed who the daughter was, what she looked like, and where she worked. So now she's getting threats from his supporters, which is what his intention was. Well, Alvin Bragg, who's the district attorney, basically said to the judge, you need to put a gag order on him, right, on top of the one he'd already had. He already had a gag order, because now if you're a potential juror and Trump's threatening the judge's family, his children, right, well, if you're a potential juror, that's going to scare you to go, well, fuck him, what if he threatens my family like this and starts posting shit about my family so his followers can come threaten us and attack us? Right? So it could cool off.
Right. Nobody wants that.
Right. So the judge is going to make a big statement about, Yeah, I'll make sure you're protected if you're going to be a juror, because that's the judge's job, right?
Right.
So the judge came back and said, no, you can't do any of this. I'm expanding the gag order. You can't talk about the families, blah, blah, blah. You can talk shit about the DA all you want. You can talk shit about me all you want. You can't talk about our families. You can't talk about the jurors. And he's even, typically in a criminal trial, you'll get the names of the jurors, right? But now he's talking about, hey, if this kind of shit continues, we're not even going to give you the names of the jurors. And furthermore, the other thing I thought was really crazy, not crazy, I mean, it's par for the course, but the fact that a judge finally stood up and did this, Mershon, who's the judge, said, you do this shit again, and pretrial detention is on the table, which means he would jail Trump through the length of the trial just to protect the jury and the court. How would you like to be the Secret Service agent on that duty? Gonna sit in the jail? Trump?
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm laughing not because I really, want the Secret Service person to have to go through this, but I'm sort of laughing at the irony of, like, you think you've climbed the ranks enough to, like, not be the guy sitting and guarding a friggin' jail, and this has all gotten so crazy that suddenly you're the Secret Service guy who's the guy guarding a jail cell.
Well, just to clarify, I because I'm an ex-cop, I actually almost applied to the Secret Service, but I didn't. And the reason is because they paid, like, back then it was like $35,000 a year, and the police department I went with was paying like $60 to start. So the Secret Service agents get paid nothing. Them and the U.S. Marshals get paid way underpaid. But yeah, so Trump was all pissed about all this stuff. But I'm gonna go to this clip real quick.
It sounds like it's got more clout.
Oh yeah, it sounds better, but it's not. It's a lot.
It sounds better with a worse paycheck. Go figure, huh?
Yeah, it's one of those jobs you do it for a few years and then you bail out and you basically become a bodyguard for celebrities, and then you make a lot of money. Like Britney Spears, I think her longtime guy was ex-Secret Service, and he went from making whatever $45,000 a year to like making like $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 a year, running her security. But yeah, anyway, so that was side rant. Anyway, so this is Trump bitching about the gag order getting expanded, and all that, and.
Oh no, I can't talk about other people's families. Come on, get over it.
Well, the potential that they might jail his ass if he keeps doing it, which he's still doing. He has done it again, so we'll see what the judge does. But we're gonna go to this real quick. This rant
is breaking overnight. Donald Trump has attacked the judge in his criminal hush money case, Juan Mershon, once again, calling for him to be, quote, sanctioned and recused. Comes after a week of withering attacks from the ex-president, targeting both Judge Mershon and his daughter, a private citizen. This week, we'll likely learn whether the judge will expand his partial gag order against Trump after Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg asked Mershon to clarify whether the gag order applies to family members. Let's start this hour with MSNBC political analyst.
So I'll just skip to the end. The judge did. He said, yeah, it does. It was a pretty obvious answer, right? Kind of a stupid question, though. I mean, well, you can't threaten the jurors, but you can threaten their families. That's what Trump's lawyers were arguing. We get it, Your Honor. He can't threaten the court or the jurors, but we think it's totally in bounds for him to threaten their families. That was basically their argument.
Yeah, like, how on God's green earth do you actually defend that? Like, that just sounds crazy.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Your Honor. I mean, that happened all the time in medieval times. I mean, you guys ever read Shogun? Well, I've seen the miniseries on TV now. Yeah, they used to kidnap each other's families all the time.
It's not Game of Thrones, right?
Right. They used to do it all the time.
Thrones?
Yeah, just total medieval shit. Yeah, we used to do it all the time. It's all on board. Fucking crazy. So that's what's going on. But he's violated it, and then he violated it again after the judge upped the order. So now it's going to be like, do they jail him? Do they fine him? They'll probably fine him for a while and then see what happens. But God, wouldn't that be great if the judge was just like, I'm tired of this shit. Pre-trial detention. You can sit in jail.
Listen, like,
then we wouldn't have to hear anything about it.
something's got to shut him up.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be nice to do like a week where we didn't have to report some stupid shit he was doing? To get a fucking break, man.
That'd be great. We could look at what else is happening in the world.
Yep. Well, speaking of what else is happening in the world, we'll go into, oh man, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've missed her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be asking yourself the question, is Marjorie Taylor Greene still doing stupid shit? And the answer to that question is yes. Yes, it is. She's not just been to Crazy Town, she's the mayor of Crazy Town. So,
oh man,
I wanted to get into this because it gets into the whole hypocrisy of the whole right-wing conservative kind of movement, just even historically. Here's a Senate hearing, or a House hearing, sorry, and they're talking about tearing down a statue of Robert E. Lee. Now, if you guys don't know, Robert E. Lee was a general for the Confederate Army during the American Civil War, right? So he was the enemy. He killed American soldiers, right? And they put up a lot of these statues of these Confederate soldiers, not after the Civil War, and partly not after the Civil War. There weren't a lot put up because Robert E. Lee even made a statement saying, I don't think we should put up statues to commemorate the Civil War. So Robert E. Lee was even against statues of himself being put up. Because he thought he's like, look, we're going to try and unify again. I don't think we should keep bringing this shit up. That was basically his statement.
And here we are all these years later.
Well, what you forget is this, so for a long time there wasn't. And then there was all these, like, we'll rename military bases after Confederate generals. And it's like, which is the weirdest thing. Because you're naming a U.S. military base after the enemy in the Civil War that we defeated. That would...
Yeah, you don't in the United States have like the Adolf Hitler military base in insert state here. Right. Like people would look at you like, what the hell would you do that for? And yet,
right,
we kind of do that sort of thing. Obviously not Hitler, but
no. But that would be like a rape victim naming her child after the rapist. I mean, it would make no fucking sense, right? It's insane. But a lot of these statues came up. And military bases were named that during Reconstruction of the South, when the KKK became a big thing, and then later when voting rights was an issue for black people, right? And the Civil Rights Movement. That's when most of these statues went up. And the reason is because it wasn't so much commemorating the South as much as it was a really pretty dark message to minorities that, no, we don't think you should have rights or freedoms. You're not equal to us, right? But Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to make a point, and she's going to bring up George Orwell. And I kind of thought this was funny because it's like a double dip sandwich of hypocrisy. Or what do we call it? A seven-layer dip of stupidity and ignorance. It's just ignorance, stupidity, bullshit, and then mayonnaise, right? So we're going to watch this clip and we're going to break it down because it's just fucking hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. I've got to brace myself for this. You know what? This is actually club soda and a little bit of like an iced herbal tea I have. Right. I kind of wish it was hooch for this. Like I really should have had the hooch. It's not hooch. Yeah, but it should be.
Yeah, this
so
is
here we go.
This is like a tequila shot clip.
Control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Georgia.
Here we go.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My amendment prohibits funds from being used to remove any monument on land under the jurisdiction of the Department of Interior. For too long, communist Democrats have been hell-bent on erasing our culture, way of life, and our history, whether we agree with it or not. As George Orwell wrote in 1984, they want a future in which every record has been destroyed or falsified, Every book has been rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street and building has been renamed. Every date has been altered. And that process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. And history has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. In 2020,
It's just crazy pants, right?
What on earth are we hearing? Okay, so first of all,
Yeah.
isn't she kind of in the camp of, hey, let's censor and ban this and that and the other? And historically speaking, isn't it her side of the aisle that tends to ban books like 1984?
Coincidentally, 1984 by George Orwell, the book she's bringing up, and of course, the poster board. I want to look at this real quick. So the poster board she has is a copy of one of the covers. Typically, the cover is a giant eyeball. You see it in like lots of different depictions. The reason is because the thing that's so scary about the book is that Big Brother, right, the government, is watching you all the time. They've got cameras in your house.
Right, like all the surveillance, you're bugged, you're watched, all of that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're scared to think anything because they're always on top of you and they can always, black bag you, which is what happens to the main character, is they black bag him and they torture him, right? And they finally break him. But the interesting thing is they talk about this, and in the book, there's this thing called doublespeak. And doublespeak is what the main character does for the government, is he creates doublespeak. And he explains what doublespeak is they change around words and languages and stuff. And he said the basic concept of doublespeak is having two contradictory ideas in your head at the same time and accepting both of them. Right? Which means taking two things that can't possibly exist in the same universe and saying they both exist. Right? Like believing the left is the evil ones banning books and we're not, while you're actually banning books. Because the irony is, 1984, the most banned book in American history, always banned by conservatives. On top of that fact, Margaret...
And yet that's the evidence she is supplying for this argument she's making.
Right. Doublespeak. Two contradictory thoughts and she's accepting both of them. And the beauty of it is because she is the poster child of the book, of Big Brother, of that character, because you're talking about a woman who, with George Santos, what was it, last year, a couple of years ago, tried to put in a national book ban for schools for LGBTQ books, but one of the books that happened to also land on that list was 1984. So she's tried to ban this book federally, and now she's using it to support her argument that the Democrats are trying to re-erase and change history. But she's the one trying to do that. And who are the ones trying to ban the books from the schools? It's the Republicans. Part of putting up those statues is
I never hear
history.
about I never hear about a bunch of like liberal Democrats like trying to ban books.
No. And the counter argument is really simple. A part of the reason those statues were put up is to rewrite history and to glorify the South. That's when they started talking about, oh no, we're going to teach everybody that the Civil War was really about states' rights. No, it wasn't. It was fucking about slavery. It's in their Constitution. It was in the Confederate Constitution. That was like one of the first things they said. We are fully aligned with the Constitution of slavery. I mean, they wanted to own black people and they didn't really care how. That was the whole fucking South. So there she's trying to rewrite history. The statue she's trying to protect was trying to rewrite history. Right? Tearing it down is trying to actually get the history out. Right? And it's just funny to me that she doesn't see the irony of this, but I have a couple other clips here because we're going to jump in. It's just crazy to me because it's not just that, it's the whole party, the whole conservative party. That's the big part of their movement, is rewriting history. So here's Donald Trump. And we're going to watch a little clip from him real quick. On basically, the premise of the book is this idea that it's all about hating your enemies, going after your enemies, demonizing them, rewriting history, and making them seem worse than they are. And in fact, there's a bit in the book where every day they do, I think it's called like 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that of hate, where basically they put up a video clip of, I guess, some rebel that was there, right? And everybody gets angry and yells and screams at him, and that's what you do every day. That we all have to collectively hate this guy together. And the main character points out if the guy's still alive, he's like 80 or 90. If he's not already dead.
Right.
and he points out nobody's seen him in decades, but we still treat him like he's a real threat. And he's not. Right? So, but that's the kind of the thing that would happen in the book. So they had to rewrite the history to create this magical enemy that only Big Brother can save you from. Well, here's Donald Trump doing the same shit. Conservatives always do this. Since the dawn of conservatism, this is their whole playbook.
For hardworking Americans, November 5th will be our new Liberation Day, but for the liars and cheaters and fraudsters and censors and imposters who have commandeered our government, it will be their Judgment Day. Their Judgment Day. Your victory will be our ultimate vindication. Your liberty will be our ultimate reward. And the unprecedented success of the United States of America will be my ultimate and absolute revenge. That's what I want. Success will be our revenge. A vote for Trump is your ticket back to freedom. It's your passport out of tyranny. And it's your only escape from Joe Biden and his gang's fast track to hell. And in many ways, we're living in hell right now.
It's the same shit. America's shit, everything's shit, and I'm the only one who can save you. This is what Kim Jong-un does in North Korea. This is what Putin does. This is what Hitler did. This is what Mussolini did. This is what the fucking kings used to do when they were oppressing the people. This is old shit. I mean, it's old hat, and she doesn't get it, that she's part of the party that he's criticizing in 1984. He's criticizing those people. And he's, you have to understand, Orwell grew up in a communism, but it wasn't really a communism, it was a dictatorship. And the whole criticism he has isn't of communism, it's of dictatorships. And just how they suck the soul right out of you. Right? They beat you down. I think of one of the famous lines from the book was, he's like, if you want a picture of the future, basically around their system of government, how they live, he's like, picture a future with a government, or picture a human face getting stomped on repeatedly over and over forever. That was his vision of the future.
Well, that's appetizing.
Well, no, it's a dark book and it's scary. But here's another guy, super conservative Trump supporter, Kenneth Copeland, TV evangelist, has ripped hundreds of millions of dollars off of people. This guy is one of those guys that gets up there, and him and his wife preach that instead of spending money to cure your cancer, you should give us your money and come to church, and Jesus will magically heal you. So give us all your money, and Jesus will heal you. And a lot of people have died horribly of cancer that didn't need to, because they gave their money to these people because they listened to him and thought that was true. But here's Kenneth Copeland, and he's going to tell you some bullshit. Which is pretty much all he does.
George Washington. He could have been made king. Nope. He pushed in the Declaration. He's the one that pushed this.
So, what he's talking about is, he's saying George Washington pushed for all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence. That's his argument here. Right?
Okay.
So, I think I might have to go back a little bit further, Mag. I think I might have cut him off too early. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. Let me try this again. So let's start from here.
George Washington.
George Washington, yeah.
He could have been made king. Nope. He pushed in the Declaration. He's the one that pushed this. All men are created equal. So he turned his Bible right there, 17th chapter of Genesis. And he opened his Bible there. And at that place, so the United States is one of the many nations. That's the reason this country belongs to God.
Yes.
Because of our first president.
Wow.
Okay. So there's another rewriting. So they always want to push that it's a Christian nation. That's what he's doing right here. And it's a Christian nation because when they did the Declaration of Independence, George Washington, they said, "Do you want to be king?" And he said, "No. I'm going to read Genesis, my Bible, that I brought with me for some reason to this meeting, where we're going to declare war. And I'm going to go to Genesis 17, chapter 17, and somewhere in there where God renames Abram to Abraham, and his wife Sarai to Sarah, and then tells Abraham to circumcise everybody, which is what chapter 17 of Genesis is. I had to go look it up. That's the main thrust, is circumcision. He got all men are created equal from circumcision, apparently. This guy's so full of shit.
By being circumcised, clearly.
This guy makes his whole money spewing bullshit from the Bible, and he doesn't even fucking know what's in it. On top of that fact, you know what else? George Washington wasn't a part of the Declaration of Independence. There were 5 guys. It was like, it was Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, Sherman, and one other guy. But Washington wasn't a part of that. And most of those guys were not Christian. I don't think any of them were Christian.
Well, let's also remember that the big push to, get on these big fat boats and come over here was to escape religious persecution. And let's get more clear on what that meant. That meant having the government force a certain religion on you. Mm-hmm. And they didn't want to be forced to switch religions every time somebody else became in power. They wanted to practice what they wanted to practice. Right. So it also seems sort of weird that suddenly that means the whole nation is Christian. I mean, there are a lot of Christians in this nation, certainly, but that doesn't mean the nation is in and of itself.
No. And the other thing about it, too, is the First Amendment is the Establishment Clause. And most people think, oh, well, the First Amendment is freedom of speech. Well, yeah, that's part of it. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. But also, they begin that with, Congress shall make no law with respect to religion.
Right.
They say there is a separation between church. You can't even use a religious argument to pass a law under the First Amendment. No, they shall make no law with respect to religion. I mean, that's the First Amendment. It's the first thing that was on their mind. These are the things that we definitely do not want. We don't want the government hindering speech. We don't want the government telling you what you can believe.
One of the words I believe they use is establishing a religion. They sort of fork off the religion idea into 2 segments, one of which had to do with establishing a national religion, which, he's sort of insinuating right. that we have. He might say, I'm not saying that, but I mean,
that's what
I don't know.
They want
sort of saying that or implying it.
Once again, back to George Orwell, rewriting the history so that they can control the future. Right? And Orwell, right. I think Orwell says it like this. He says, whoever controls the past controls the future, and whoever controls the present controls the past. And that's what they're trying to do here. But they're trying to say it's everybody else. So here's another clip to give you an example of that. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll skip forward. But here's Larry Kudlow talking about... Larry Kudlow worked in the Trump regime, right, when Trump wasn't president. Larry Kudlow, who I love to make fun of. I think I got another clip of him later, too. But this is him just basically spewing bullshit about the economy, like he always does.
Now, folks, before we delve into the market stuff and the Fed and all that, I want to jump the gun on this crazy new Biden rule to eliminate gas-powered cars. I mean, the guy can't help himself. Once again, President Biden is trying to kill gasoline-powered cars. You'd think he'd learn how unpopular this is, but he hasn't learned. And he's sending his EPA back into action with new tailpipe emissions rules that would basically knock out combustion engines by 2032, which is really only about 8.
That's all bullshit. They want to build more electric cars, but to do that, you got to build more power stations. Right?
Right.
People aren't going to buy the cars if they can't charge them. So that's part of what he's doing. He's also doing emissions stuff. But part of this is because electric cars is where it's going. The number of sales of electric cars increases every year in the United States, and gas-powered cars decreases a little bit every year. But if you look at a lot of European countries, because they're closer together, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to drive as far most of the time. Like places like northern areas like Norway, Sweden, and like almost everybody has an electric car. There's very few gas cars. Like half the people in like Japan have electric cars. That's where it's going. And right now we are way behind China in the market. And do you really want to lose the automotive race to China? That's what this whole thing is about. But he's got to spin it. Why? Because he gets all of his money from the oil and gas industry with Fox. So he's trying to rewrite, right, the present history, right, what's happening, in order to spin it in the way that he can control it for his overlords in the oil industry.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, that's the whole joke. Marjorie Taylor Greene's getting up there, doing it, and for them, it's okay when they commit these things. But when the left does anything even remotely like it, it's evil and it's wrong and it's sinister. Holding two contradictory thoughts in your head at the same time and accepting both of them.
Well, we've talked about this idea before, though, the idea that, they have a standard for them and then a standard for everyone else that is separate from the standard that's from them, as opposed to holding everybody up to the same standard. They show us over and over again that they believe that certain people should get to have a different standard.
Right.
And they are those certain people.
Right, which is the other famous George Orwell book. If you guys have never read Animal Farm, it's probably one of my more favorite ones of his. The premise of the book is it's a ranch kind of farm thing, and the animals oust the farmers and take over the farm and declare independence and make their own country kind of thing with the farm. And they write their own little constitution, and they have their Bill of Rights, and it starts out with all animals are equal. That was the first one, right? Well, the pigs eventually get more power, and the pigs eventually start to take over and become the farmers. And then one day the animals get up and they look at the barn, and they're looking at the First Amendment on there, and all animals are equal. And then added onto the back of it, but some animals are more equal. The pigs just add that in the middle of the night.
Right.
They're all looking, all the other animals are looking at each other.
They kept getting up in the middle of the night and going and rewriting history, right, if we want to go back to that, rewriting the rules, right, in order to give themselves more rights than others.
Right, but that's what the pigs do, and that's kind of the joke. I mean, it's the whole joke about what was it? Oh, it was Family Guy. They did the bit where they found America, right? And they're like, America, a land for freedom for all, except for blacks, and Hispanics, and Asians. No, just white people. No Italians, no Spanish, no Irish, no, just pure-blooded. Well, women, no. You know what? Fuck it. No rights for enemy. America. Because that's what it was. All men are created equal. Fuck women. All men are created equal. Except for black people, and Asian people, and Irish people, and Spanish people. That's what happened when we created the Constitution. We're all equal, but we're going to keep slavery. How the fuck does that work? See? That's how that all happens. So, anyway, I just wanted to show that clip because that's the irony of her using a book she tried to ban that's about people that try to ban that kind of book. And using that as, like, she's the hero here.
there's so many problems with that whole scenario. I mean, we could be here all day just like, breaking down everything that was wrong with just that, but
we could teach a whole course
we
on
can
just
move
that.
on. Right.
Well, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
cool.
That works.
All right. Just be a couple minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're back. All right, so I want to do this. We'll skip this one. We'll do this. We'll do this one next time. I want to do this clip. So Easter was Sunday. Happy Easter, everybody! I guess. So Easter was Sunday, and they did the typical White House Easter egg contest and hide the Easter eggs and all that jazz, right? However, Easter also fell on March 31st this year. Because Easter's always the last Sunday, right? March 31st, however, is Trans Visibility Day. So Biden did a post for both. He said, yeah, happy Easter, everybody, basically. And then he did a post about, hey, trans people, happy Trans Visibility Day. We see you and we appreciate you. You're Americans. We love you, kind of thing, right? The right wing lost their collective shit. Fox News covered this for 50-something hours straight. This was, like, ridiculous. So we're going to jump right in.
Brother.
I think it's Marsha Blackburn. She's one of the Congress monsters on Fox News, just livid about Trump even acknowledging trans people at Easter. Ooh, very Christian.
Senator, I do need to get your comment today being Easter. President Biden has designated this the Transgender Day of Visibility. What's your take on that?
Jason, I think everyone should be insulted by this, the intentional nature of this. Easter is a religious holiday. It is such a sacred day where we all meet at the cross. And for this White House to declare it, to issue a proclamation for Transgender Visibility Day, and then at the same time to deny the use of religious symbols in the White House Easter egg hunt are...
No.
You're acting like Biden started Trans Visibility Day. Why are they acting like he started it?
Trans Visibility Day, it's an international.
It's been there for...
It's an international.
Yeah, but it's been in place for really quite a while, right? Like, I feel like way before Biden.
Yeah, for several years it's been every March 31st. It's not, nothing's changed. So Biden didn't declare it.
But they're trying to spin this. They're trying to spin this like Biden intentionally decided he's going to shit all over Easter by declaring it some other day. When, let's get it straight, Biden actually had nothing to do with declaring this a holiday. He just acknowledged it, right?
Well,
the other part is Easter can't exactly manage to pick a day. I mean, I'm cool with Easter. It's a great holiday. But Easter can't pick a day. So you don't get to have yourself a holiday that roams all over the damn calendar and then be shocked when it lands on something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have been National Squirrel Day for all we know. They wouldn't have cared. It's the fact they don't like trans people. And that's the whole joke about this is just really, we're bigots, but we can't say that out loud because we know how bad it looks. Right? But that's the whole thing is, yeah, Biden didn't declare it. Even if he did declare it, my attitude is, who gives a shit? You can't share your holiday with trans people? Aren't you supposed to be Christians? Aren't you supposed to be loving and caring? Isn't love thy neighbor like one of your fucking things?
You're going to share it with that holiday once every how many years? Because your holiday has not picked a day?
Right. Well, furthermore, you want to talk about rewriting and adding shit and changing things. Easter is a pagan holiday originally, and the Christians couldn't get rid of it, so they adopted it and they made it about Jesus' resurrection, when in fact Easter is about the goddess, she's a European goddess, Oyster, but it's pronounced Easter in the English language, and Easter was the goddess of spring. And you would always see her, and she'd always have a basket with eggs in it, and she'd always carry a rabbit. And that's where the Easter baskets and the eggs and the rabbits things come from, is from a pagan goddess, not from the Christian religion. They just adopted all this shit. It's the same thing with like Christmas. Christmas is celebrating the birth of Christ. Really? How many evergreen trees are there in Israel? Is Jerusalem really known as a veritable forest? I don't think so. Right? You're talking about something indigenous to Northern Europe. But Christmas was called Saturnalia, and it was a pagan holiday. And the church tried to get rid of it for centuries. And they didn't adopt it until like the late 1800s. Because they couldn't get rid of it. But it used to be a day of like drinking and debauchery. So, yeah, but that's just, I love that they try to spin it. Oh, he's trying to add it in there to offend us because it's our holiday and it's a holy thing and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, because you adopted it as a holy thing about 100 and something years ago. On top of that fact, he didn't he didn't make any of this shit up. He's just acknowledging things as they're happening.
Right. It's sort of like waking up and being like, well, happy Monday.
Right.
Biden invented Monday. He's trying to start Monday.
He's trying
No, it was already Monday.
No, he's trying to
just
he's doing it to
said it was Monday.
He's doing it to intentionally hurt Garfield. Because he knows Garfield hates Mondays.
So yeah, there.
Yeah. Fucking Garfield. Fucking it's just the whole thing just cracks me up. So yeah, they lost their collective shit about the Easter thing. Where was it here? So here was Biden's post on Easter. It's really painless. So this was Biden's Easter post. Jill, who's the First Lady, Jill and I send our warmest wishes to Christians around the world celebrating Easter Sunday. Easter reminds us of the power and hope and the promise of Christ's resurrection. As we gather with loved ones, we remember Jesus' sacrifice. We pray for one another and cherish the blessing of the dawn of new possibilities. And with wars and conflict taking a toll on innocent lives around the world, we renew our commitment to work for peace, security, and dignity for all people. From our happy years, happy Easter. May God bless you. Now, I'm sorry, as an atheist, Joe, keep that shit in church, man. I'm offended. I don't give a shit. He's a Catholic. It's Easter. I don't care. He can say that shit. I don't care. As long as he doesn't pass a law, I don't fucking care.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's fine. He can do that. I'm not offended. But he does. But as an atheist, I didn't get a fucking shout out. What about the Muslims? What about the Jews in this country? What about the Buddhists? What about the Hindus? I mean, Jesus, Joe. Just what? Christians and trans people? That's it? That's all America's going to be going forward? That's basically their argument. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. However, their dear Christian leader Trump, you know, doing his thing. Let's see if I can bring this up here. So he also posted an Easter message, wishing everybody a happy Easter, and that was it. It was fine, and everything worked out great. April Fools. No, he didn't. Here's what Trump posted. Oh, man. Let's see if I get this. Happy Easter to all, including those that... all caps, too. I love it. Those that dream endlessly of destroying our country because they are incapable of dreaming about anything else. Those that are so incompetent they don't realize that having a border and powerful wall is a good thing, and having voter ID, all paper ballots, and same-day voting will quickly end massive voter fraud. And to all those weak and pathetic rhinos, radical left Democrats, socialist Marxists, and communists who are killing our nation, remember, we will be back.
Wow, so
Happy
somebody
Easter.
forgot to tell him that Easter is kind of like a family holiday.
Well, furthermore, why is he mentioning the pathetic rhinos, the radical left Democrats, the socialist Marxists, the communists, and all the horrible, incapable, and incompetent people? this is a holy day, Don. Donnie, Don. I'm offended for all Christians.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh man. And then there was another article here where like he does this all the time. Let's see. What has he done before the president? He's used things like when he was president. Remember, he would do these holiday posts that would be like he'd be talking about people who are evil and sick and deranged and corrupt and crooked, illegal immigrants. He'd attack them on Christmas. It's called Election Interference. Merry Christmas. That was actually one of his posts. May they all rot in hell again. Merry Christmas. No, these are actual posts.
Right. I feel like they need to like rewrite some sort of like weird Scrooge thing with him, like, and his weird posts.
Oh man.
Wow.
It just fucking kills me. But yep, but that's what they were pissed about. Heaven forbid trans people. You know what's funny too is it's Trans Visibility Day, right? It was March 31st. And you know, trans people I don't think they get enough visibility. And there's they get a lot of laws right now being passed against them and stuff in different states. I mean, and you got to think about how stressful that is. I'm part white, part Asian, and I'm a male, but in my lifetime, I've never been in a position where I'm worried about Congress or the Supreme Court making a law or a decision that would affect my rights. It's never come up. But if I were a woman, I'd be pretty fucking pissed right now. You know, if I were...
And I am.
Yeah, if I were black or gay or transgender or Hispanic, I'd be really fucking pissed. Because we're basically making laws that we know, or they are making laws that they know are going to affect specific groups that they're attacking. I mean, it's bigotry just down the line. But that's the whole deal. I mean, the whole thing is they don't like trans people. But, and the ironic fact of the matter is Fox News aired that coverage for 50-something hours. So the trans people got a lot of visibility on Fox News this week. Even if it was all negative, it was still, you know. For Trans Visibility Day, they did their part. So, I wanted to jump into this couple things real quick. We got to get through, but so James Comer, who was running the Biden impeachment, right? So a whole new segment now. Sorry, guys, I'm not really good at segues. So James Comer.
FYI, and then maybe you can segue again. I got my low battery thing, so I'm at 18% battery. 17. It changed as I said that. 17, just so
you know.
If Lacey suddenly is gone.
She needs to. Oh, do you need to plug in real quick, or?
Well, it depends on how much we have left. Am I going to need more than 17% of my battery to finish?
I don't think so. We'll do a couple quick things. So James Comer, I want to do this
real
quick. So James Comer is running the Biden impeachment, and the deal is they've been dragging this on, and they don't have any evidence. And their big key witness...
Yeah, talk about witch hunt. This is the real witch hunt.
There's nothing there. And their big key witness got arrested by the FBI. Their other key witness doesn't have any evidence, and it had to basically say, well, I don't have any evidence, but I'm positive he did it. And it's like, okay, well, where's your evidence? No, well, I'm positive. It's not how evidence works, but all right. So they've got nothing. And then they had Lev Parnas, who worked with Giuliani about the whole, smearing Biden shit. And Lev Parnas talks about being recruited by Giuliani, meeting Trump recruiting him to try to go manufacture this dirt on Joe Biden. And the guys in the House hearing, the impeachment hearing, Lev Parnas is pointing to him. I know these guys because I worked with them to manufacture bullshit on Joe Biden. So these guys are part of trumping up this bullshit hearing, are now hearing the hearing on the bullshit that they created. I mean, it's just a 7-layer dip of bullshit. So Comer keeps dragging this out though, and it's pissing a lot of people off because it's not going anywhere, and they just look stupider and stupider. And nobody could figure out, why is Comer dragging this out? Well, we finally found out. Comer got a book deal. And he's writing a book about the impeachment. It's all horseshit. But he wants to drag it out until the book's released to up his sales. And that's what's going on. He's denying it, but we're going to watch this. So this is Ben Solace with the Midas Touch. And he's going to talk about this. But this is, Comer's got this book deal. And we're going to jump right into the middle here.
Project came to light when a source pointed Axios to a page on the HarperCollins website that shows placeholder cover for a book by Comer with a provocative title, All the President's Money, and a purported publication date of September 10th. But no book is imminent and there's no book deal, Comer's staff tells Axios. They lie about everything. They're lying about the book deal. HarperCollins just on their own started posting a random book by James Comer. It's not the way it works. I mean, they just think it.
There it is. But he swears there's no book deal. And when they pointed this out, they said, oh, well, we talked to HarperCollins, but we haven't gotten a deal yet. Then why are they selling pre-orders at the fucking book with a date? If you haven't even written the book yet or talked to them about the book. They've got the book. It's ready to go. They just got to print them out.
Oh, my God.
So that's this whole Biden impeachment is so Comer and these can make some money and so they can trump up some shit to try and help Trump in the election. It's all about lining their own pockets and helping themselves out. There's nothing here. So they're going after Biden for corruption, right, that they've corruptly made and are corruptly taking advantage of and profiting off of corruptly. So I'm profiting off my corruption by accusing you of corruption. It's just, these people are just, it's just such a, it's just a 7-layer dip, folks. It's just a 7-layer dip, these fuckers.
Oh, my God. You just can't make this stuff up.
I know. It's fucking great. But talking about weird, evil shit, we have to get into this, and we'll do this one last one, and we'll wrap up here. But so Alabama, they have the abortion restrictions in Alabama. Well, they just for the first time in fucking whenever elected a Democrat as a senator in Alabama, and the Democrat came out and she won by a landslide, and it was almost all female voters for her. So it might be that Alabama turns blue. Alabama's now in play.
What has happened in this universe when Alabama has any even little blip of blue going on?
I know. It's like shocking. I was shocked to hear that. But yeah, Alabama might be in play in the next few years. I don't know about this year, but maybe in the next 4 or 5. And a lot of it's all centered around the abortion thing. Was a lot of it, restricting women's rights. But yeah, the question is, who's going to be the last one? Who's going to be the last dog to the bowl? Who's going to be the last one to meet with progress? I don't know, Mississippi. Who's it going to be? Wink, wink.
You're like, we're looking at you, kid.
Yeah. I think their state still has a Confederate flag. That's their state flag. And you're like, you fucking idiots. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting news because that's going to be a big push here in the election. On top of that fact, Florida, the Supreme Court there, just upheld what's a 15-week abortion ban. So you can't get an abortion after 15 weeks, which is dangerous because a lot of complications and things happen after 15 weeks, and a lot of women, don't have the time or the resources to decide or do it within 15 weeks. I mean, you're talking about less than 4 months. I mean, most women don't know they're pregnant for at least, 8 to 12 weeks. So, it's kind of really pushes it. Well, now, not only does that happen, but it opens it up and it clears the way for what's probably inevitably going to be a 6-week ban before women even know they're pregnant. So you're basically
you know what?
banning abortion.
Weeks, like that 6-week thing, like I see it, and it kind of takes my breath away, because the truth of the matter is, and I'll even be honest about my age, like, you know, I'm a woman in her 40s, and when you're sort of at the beginning of, you know, certain life changes, then things start spreading out a little bit. It would be very easy for a woman of my age to have no idea until they're past 6 weeks, because you go, oh, okay, well, you know what? It's been more than 4 weeks, but everything's been sort of shifting and spreading out, and like, bam. Or people who were always irregular, but particularly in my age bracket, that's a very scary idea. Very scary.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you might as well just make it illegal. You're only saying 6 weeks to try and make it sound softer when you're really just making it illegal. Because most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. At 6 weeks, you're like, maybe I'm just late.
Women, you know, I do know women who can tell you down to the day that it's going to happen, but I've always gotten about one a month, but I've never been regular enough to be able to just like pinpoint it. So I know so many women that they wouldn't, around 6 weeks is when they would start thinking they probably needed to take a test, because that's, you know, a little long for even their irregular patterns. You know, like around 6 weeks is probably when somebody's even thinking about taking a test. They probably don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's go into this real quick. So we'll watch this clip real quick. But yeah, this is insane.
And let's talk more about it now with Florida's Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Congresswoman, it's a great day to have you on. There's a lot to talk about. You obviously are a Congresswoman from Florida, so just give us your reaction as to what you just heard from the state Supreme Court.
Well, you know, I'm elated that the more than 1 million Floridians who signed a petition to get the abortion rights amendments to our Constitution on the ballot are going to have pushed and successfully pushed for an opportunity for voters across the state to make sure that politicians, the government, and judges are not allowed to be involved in deeply personal healthcare decisions for families. And you know, with the unfortunate, really devastating decision that the Supreme Court has allowed the 15-week abortion ban passed by the Republican-led legislature and signed by the governor to take effect, and 30 days later we'll essentially have a total abortion ban here with a...
Yeah, so that's what I just said. But that's the thing, is 1 million people signed a petition. That's a fucking big petition. I've never heard of a petition that big. I'm sure there have been lots of them, but I'm from Oregon. You know, petitions like 50,000 people, 100,000 people. It's not like, you know, I get 1 million people. But yeah, but now it's like, okay, it's one of those things where every year it was like, oh, maybe Florida will turn blue this year. Maybe it'll turn blue this year. And it never does. And we never expect it to. But now it's like, well, fuck, if half the state, all the women are pissed off, Florida is now in play again because of the abortion things. So, yeah, the abortion thing might flip it all over. I think it's kind of an interesting thing what'll happen with that, and we can see it. But it's absolutely crazy to me. And I wanted to cover a couple just things real quick. So just with the abortion stuff, it's such a dangerous thing for a health reason for women. And I'm just going to look at this article here on maternal health divide. So the limited maternal health services and worse outcomes of states proposing new abortion restrictions. So they just went and looked at kind of states that have restrictions, the 26 that do and the 24 that don't, and what the comparisons are. And so, you know, they did the demographic comparisons. This is the states that have abortion restrictions, and these are the ones that have access. And then they did it by ethnicity. And essentially, you know, in states that have abortion access, you have less you have more minority births because minorities tend to be poor because of racism, segregation, shit like that. But in the access states, white people give birth more, right? Or where they deny access. Sorry. But then like maternity care resources. So the dark one here, I don't know if that's a pink or a peach color. That's basically states that don't have abortion. They're abortion restriction states, and these are abortion access states. So maternity care resources, right, for mothers are more available in states that have abortion. So there's less resources to help the mothers. There's also less, contraception and things like that in those states too. And they did by counties with maternity care deserts, right? Which isn't as big of a deal in states that have access to abortion. And then here, maternal deaths are way higher in states that limit abortion. More women die of pregnancy by far. And then this is also by race and ethnicity, still much higher in the abortion ban states. I mean, just to give you a sense of this is not just about, because it always gets focused on, well, we're trying to save the fetus, right? Or it's a child, it's a person shit. You're forgetting the other person, the person carrying the child, who is a citizen and has rights.
Remember, we don't care about her.
Yeah, that's the problem. And really, at the end of the day, and we've done this argument so many times, but it's like, it's so simple from my perspective, which is, okay, if your ultimate goal here is to not restrict abortion, but to limit the number of abortions, right? Banning it doesn't do it, because a lot of women are still going to go get abortions. It doesn't bring the rates down. All you've done is made it unsafe for them to get abortions. They're still going to do it. If the whole goal is to limit abortions, then what do you need? Maternity care, sex education, access to contraception, access to free clinics, right? But those states that are banning abortion don't do any of that shit. Because really the issue isn't for them, we want to limit the number of abortions. It's we want to oppress women. We don't want women having sex. That's what it really is. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of wrap up on that, because that's just, it might flip the election here, and it fucking should. And if you're a woman, or if you support women, you should not be voting for the Republicans this year. So,
you know what? The only positive in this is it might get some people to reconsider their vote and where they're placing their vote.
Yeah. Well, that's
so
what we're
there we go.
That's what we're hoping for. Well, that's our show. Sorry to end on kind of a bummer, but thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks, Lacey. Where can everybody catch you at?
As always, everyone can catch me at mysensewithsense.com, and you can find articles I've written, information about workshops and courses. If you have questions about those, or if you want to send us some clips, topic requests, or invite yourself on with us, you can email us. Duncan, where do they do that?
You can email us at gossipfinancead@outlook.com. Also, I always forget to mention this, but Lacey's links are also below in the description. So, yeah, if you have questions, please, we've still open invitation. If you want to come on the show and argue with us, we're game for it. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll catch you guys next time.